Imagine the roar of airplane engines, the cold wind whipping against your face, and the chaos of anti-aircraft fire lighting up the night sky. For 19-year-old Private William Hayes, this wasn't a movie. It was the early morning of June 6, 1944 D-Day. As a paratrooper with the 101st Airborne, he was part of the Spearhead, the first wave of soldiers meant to drop behind enemy lines in Normandy, France, to disrupt German defenses before the main beach invasion. But in war, plans rarely survive contact with the enemy. As Hayes leaped from his C-47 transport plane into the darkness, the world exploded around him. Flak tore through the sky, and his parachute descent was a terrifying, uncontrolled fall. He slammed into the ground, far from his designated drop zone, his legs screaming in pain from the rough landing. He was alone, wounded, and deep in hostile territory. The grand strategy of the invasion had, for him, shrunk to one simple, terrifying reality: survival. As dawn began to break, painting the French countryside in eerie shades of gray, Hayes crawled through the dense Norman hedgerows trying to get his bearings. The sounds of battle were all around him: distant gunfire, the crump of mortar, the shouts of men in a language he didn't understand. Every shadow seemed to hide a threat. His training had prepared him for combat, but not for this profound sense of isolation. His unit was gone. His mission was a mystery. His only companion was the throbbing pain in his leg. Just as despair began to set in, he heard a low groan nearby. Cautiously, he moved toward the sound, his rifle at the ready. Lying in a ditch, half-conscious and bleeding heavily from a chest wound, was another American paratrooper. Hayes recognized the uniform and insignia. It was a corporal he knew, a man named Fisher. Fisher's breathing was shallow, and his eyes were glazed with pain and shock. He was in a much worse state than Hayes. In that moment, Hayes faced a choice that would define the rest of his life. His training, his instinct for self-preservation, everything screamed at him to keep moving. Staying put with a severely wounded man was a death sentence. They were a stationary target, a liability. The logical, tactical decision was to leave Fisher, perhaps with a canteen of water and a quiet prayer, and try to save himself. It was the brutal calculus of war, a choice countless soldiers had to make. Saving himself meant he might be able to rejoin the fight, to complete his mission. Staying meant almost certain capture or death for them both. He looked at Fisher, who managed a weak whisper, "Go, save yourself, kid." But Hayes couldn't do it. He saw not a strategic liability, but a fellow human being. Another American boy thousands of miles from home, lying helpless and alone. He looked at his own injured leg, then back at Fisher. The choice was made. Fear was real, but compassion was stronger. He wasn't going to leave him, he told Fisher. "We're getting out of here together, Corporal." Or not at all. With a surge of adrenaline, Hayes hoisted Fisher onto his shoulders. The weight was immense, a deadening burden on his own injured body. Every step was agony. Fisher, delirious with pain, would sometimes drift into consciousness and plead with Hayes to leave him behind. "You're a good man, Hayes," he'd murmur, "but you can't do this. Let me go." Each time, Hayes would just grit his teeth and reply, "Shut up and hang on, Corporal." He carried him across open fields, risking his life. He scrambled through the thick, thorny hedgerows that crisscrossed the landscape, tearing his uniform and his skin. Ours blurred into a grueling odyssey of pain and determination. He wasn't a soldier fighting a war anymore. He was just a young man trying to carry another to safety. He wasn't thinking about victory or defeat, only about the next step, and the one after that. The weight on his back was more than just a wounded man. It was the weight of his own humanity. He had no map, no compass, just a gut feeling, moving in the general direction he hoped the American lines would be. He stopped for brief moments to give Fisher water, to adjust his position. He simply gasped for air. He was exhausted, his body screaming for rest, his mind numb with fatigue, but he kept going. He kept repeating to himself, "Not leaving me, not leaving me." Late in the afternoon, just as his strength was finally giving out, he stumbled into a small clearing and saw them patrol of American paratroopers. At first, he thought he was hallucinating, but their voices were real, their uniforms were real. The relief he saw around him had almost brought him to his knees. The patrol leader, the battle-hardened sergeant, stared in disbelief at the sight before him, a young private carrying a barely conscious corporal on his back. They rushed forward to help, carefully taking Fisher from Hayes' shoulders. The sergeant looked at Hayes, at his torn uniform, and face, the grim determination still in his eyes. He asked him what had happened. Hayes, barely able to speak, just explained that he found Fisher and couldn't leave him. The sergeant and his men were silent, awestruck. In a day full of acts of incredible bravery, this quiet act of self-sacrifice stood out. It was about one man refusing to abandon another, even when the risk was on the line. Both Hayes and Fisher survived the war. Fisher recovered from his wounds, but he never forgot the young pilot who carried him across Normandy for the rest of his life. He told the story of how his life was saved not by a grand military maneuver, but by a single act of stubborn compassion. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please consider sharing it. And subscribe for more stories of quiet courage that deserve to be remembered. We'll see you next time.